We have a deal. Hollywood actors reach a tentative agreement with the studios. So what happens next? It could be the most effective weight loss drug ever to hit the market in the U.S. See how much it's been shown to help people lose. You're watching The Rundown. Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Winston. Actors are heading back to work. The 118-day strike is over. SAG-AFTRA reached a tentative deal with Hollywood studios. Celebrations took place Wednesday night after people heard the news. On social media, SAG president Fran Drescher said the billion-dollar-plus deal is 3 times the last contract. She said they broke new ground everywhere. Titanic star Frances Fisher is one of the 17 members on SAG's negotiating committee.
Can't wait for people to read it. I'm not going to say a word about it. I want them to read about all of the gains we made.
So what happens next? Before the 160,000 members of SAG-AFTRA can vote on the new contract, it has to be ratified by the SAG board. Comcast, a corporation that owns our parent company, NBC Universal, is represented by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Some employees of the NBC News Group are represented by SAG-AFTRA. No school and no trips to the park in Tustin. The city closed both because of concerns over what's in the smoke still lingering from the hangar fire. The debris and ash have tested positive for asbestos. This weekend's Veterans Day celebration and car show is also canceled. The alert comes from the South Coast Air Quality Management District. The agency is encouraging everyone who lives near the hangar to stay inside, close all windows, and avoid touching the ash. If you need to go outside, they recommend wearing an N95 mask or respirator and drink extra water. Additional testing for the toxic gases and metals is also underway. There's increased fire danger in Southern California. Fire crews fought a wind-driven brush fire in Topanga Canyon. It burned nearly 4 acres. A 2-story home was destroyed by the flames. Firefighters called in water-dropping helicopters because of the steep terrain and current Santa Ana wind conditions. So how long will we see elevated fire danger? Let's check in with meteorologist Belinda Leon, who has the answer.
Hey, Robin, enough with the winds, right? Well, the weather on Thursday will start off windy, but those winds will gradually decrease through the afternoon and evening. Looking ahead to the weekend, we're going to have temperatures that are going to be warmer. Highs expected to be in the 80s, still dry, so even though the winds won't be strong, fire danger will still be elevated. Then next week, a big pattern change. Do you remember where your umbrella is? Time to start looking for it. It's going to be much cooler and we'll have a chance for rain. Now look at the temperature trend in Riverside, where we're going to finish off the work week with highs in the 70s. Then over the weekend, time to make those plans. It is going to be warmer in the 80s with plenty of sunshine. Early next week, we start to transition. Storm system sets its sights on Southern California. Temperatures start to lower on Wednesday, 71. And we still have several days to prepare, check our roof, maybe clean our rain gutters, because next week, a potential for rain at about a 40%.
3 people missing and a man from Tarzana is under arrest on suspicion of murder after a woman's remains were found dismembered in Encino. The woman's remains were discovered in a dumpster in Encino Wednesday morning. Video evidence at the scene led detectives to a home just a few miles away in Tarzana, where they believe the woman may have been murdered. LAPD officers were dispatched to the home Tuesday night after someone called police about a deceased person.
A radio call November 7th at about 5:30 p.m. Involved a suspicious bag that possibly contained a human remains. When the officers responded, nothing was located. There was no evidence that allowed the officers to make entry into the home.
Detectives now say that bag matches the one discovered in the dumpster. At least 7 people lived in the home. Samuel Haskell, his wife, May Haskell, her mother and father, as well as 3 young children. Police arrested Samuel Haskell. May and her parents are unaccounted for. The 3 children were found safe at school. An LA County medical investigator has been charged with stealing from the dead while on the job. Investigators charged 34-year-old Adrian Munoz, who's been with the department since 2018. The LA County DA, George Gascon, said that Munoz responded to a death investigation of a man who died of a heart attack. Gascon says surveillance footage shows Munoz removing a gold crucifix necklace from the man's neck and placing it in his medical bag.
Very disappointed. That's the best word I can use to describe this, because we rely on the trust of the community, and certainly this will shake in that trust.
Munoz has been suspended during the investigation. The DA says they're investigating if there are other victims out there. The LAPD had to be called in when groups of people fought outside the Museum of Tolerance in the Pico Robertson neighborhood of LA. Police tell us the group had gathered outside while a screening of a documentary about the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel was playing inside. No word on what led up to this scuffle, but video shows people standing with Israeli flags. The LAPD took at least 2 misdemeanor battery reports, and police say so far there have been no arrests. In response to the fight, LA Mayor Karen Bass said this on X, formerly known as Twitter: "We cannot allow current worldwide tension to devolve into this unacceptable violence in our city. This is a time of immense pain and distress for thousands of Angelenos. We must stand together." The third Republican presidential debate was held Wednesday night on NBC. 5 GOP hopefuls spoke on a number of key issues facing the nation. Foreign policy was a prominent topic, as it was the first debate since the state of the Israel-Hamas war. Also, the candidates tried to knock each other out of the way to become the main challenger to the overwhelming frontrunner, former President Trump. Mr. Trump once again chose to skip the debate and hold a rally instead.
He owes it to you to be on this stage and explain why he should get another chance. He should explain why he didn't have Mexico pay for the border wall.
Anybody who's going to be spending the next year and a half of their life focusing on keeping themselves out of jail and courtrooms cannot lead this party or this country.
The debate was slimmed down to 5 candidates, and the field could be narrowed down even more for the next presidential debate.
Oh, I think Chris Christie and Tim Scott. Remember, to qualify for this debate, you had to be 4% in selected polls and have at least 70,000 unique contributors or donors. Next time around, you have to have 6% in selected polls and 80,000 unique contributors. Right now, those two would not make it.
NBC4 political contributor Dr. Fernando Guerra also predicts Vivek Ramaswamy may not make it to the next debate stage because he hasn't been able to pick up momentum. All right, some good news. If you're trying to get a new passport in time for your next trip, the State Department now says processing times are down to 7 to 10 weeks. It had been taking up to 13 weeks to get a passport over the summer. Expedited service is now down to 3 to 5 weeks for an extra $60 fee. The State Department says they've directed resources to meet the unprecedented demand. The Food and Drug Administration has approved what could be the most effective weight loss drug to ever hit the market here in the U.S. The medication made by Eli Lilly is called Zepbound. It was originally created and approved as a treatment for type 2 diabetes. But in recent clinical trials, the once weekly injection has been shown to help people lose up to 52 pounds in 16 months. Zepbound cost around $1,000 for a month's supply without insurance. Now that it's been approved to help people fight obesity, it opens the door for the drug to be covered by a wide variety of health insurance policies. It's been renovated top to bottom for the last 3 years, but now the iconic Egyptian theater in Hollywood is about to reopen. This is very exciting. The inside looks almost exactly like it did 100 years ago. NBC4's Gordon Tokumatsu takes us inside.
This is the first thing you see.
Yes.
Architect Peyton Hall oversaw the restoration of the Egyptian when Netflix bought the theater 3 years ago. He is a stickler for detail and knew the best way to approach the project was to make it look as close to the way it did 101 years ago.
It's entertainment architecture long before we had Disneyland.
Sid Grauman, the man who would later give us the Chinese Theater up Hollywood Boulevard, was a master showman, and he designed the Egyptian accordingly, says Peyton.
A theater that was an experience, from the sidewalk to the screen.
The Egyptian is fronted by an enormous courtyard. Grauman filled it with Hollywood spectacle, from Klieg lights to red carpets to a train locomotive if a film called for one. The first ever Hollywood premiere happened here, Robin Hood starring Douglas Fairbanks. Peyton says Grauman was the first of the theater moguls to recognize that marketing a film was as important as shooting and screening it.
It wasn't so much fun to show up at the movie theater before Sid Grauman.
The Egyptian ushered in the era of the movie palace and glitzy premieres, which exist to this day. The Netflix restoration, in partnership with the American Cinematheque, painstakingly cleaned, touched up, and repaired the decor that so many theater fans gazed up at all those decades ago. And there's much more to this theater than meets the eye. Live productions, for example, the features of which still exist. Peyton calls these ledges on both sides singers' balconies.
You could come from the backside in the olden days and get in there and stand there.
Even the stars' dressing rooms, located at stage left, have been restored, although it's not clear if the theater will feature live shows anymore. In Hollywood, Gordon Tokumatsu, NBC4 News.
It takes a lot of courage to surf the world's biggest waves, and one Australian surfer just set a new world record. 31-year-old Laura in Evers says she had been in the water for about 2 hours playing cat and mouse with massive waves, but when this wave approached in a split second, she knew she was in the perfect spot to catch it.
I knew it was the biggest wave I'd ever caught in my life, and I was so proud of that, and I was absolutely just stoked, and I didn't know anyone took a photo of it, and so when that photo came in like days later, I just like couldn't believe how big it was. So yeah, in the moment, I knew it was my biggest wave, but I didn't know just sort of how big it was.
And Evers says she is thrilled with setting the world record, but the real prize was getting to ride that wave. She did it like a true pro, right? You can always get news and weather updates on the NBCLA app and our website, NBCLA.com. And be sure to tune into Today in LA on NBC4, weekdays 4 to 7 a.m. I'll be helping you get around with traffic reports throughout the morning. I'll see you next time on The Rundown.